Can anyone can reply fast? I'm taking the screenshot along with your roll numbers. 7F did not turn on his video. Yeah. Yeah, screenshot will be taken multiple times. Okay. Right. Guys, can you data? Yeah, I didn't see the uh, data abstraction, encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism. These are the basic features of the OOPS. Yes or no? Right. So I'm going. I just want to continue with the PPT, and we have discussed about object yesterday. Is that true? We have discussed about object. Yes or no? We have discussed about class. Just nod your head. At least nod your head. At least your lip movement, so that I can able to understand that you are with me. Okay. So and did we talk about anything other feature yesterday? Apart from class and object, did we talk about anything? Any feature? We talked something about inheritance. Yes or no? We talked about something about inheritance and data hiding and encapsulation. Do you know what is data hiding and encapsulation? I'll go one by one. Okay. So object we have, everybody knows that it is a basic unit of object oriented programming and it represents the real life entities that we have discussed yesterday. Just for the purpose of recap, I just want to mention once again. And the examples of the objects are student, teacher, fan, dog, pen, which we can see in our everyday real life. Yes or no? Those are the objects. And every objects, I already told you, every object must have, will have, should have two things mainly. What are they? Whenever I say any object, and every object will have two main things. What are they? State and behavior. Exactly, Abhinav. 79. Who is 79? Okay. So state and behavior. Okay. And what is state? What is state? Yesterday we have seen. What is state? State means something. Some people are told you that it is absent and present, listening or sleeping. Something. It's not a state. Okay. It's the attributes. It's the data related to the object. Yes or no? So I don't want to stress much on this because we have thoroughly talked about this thing in the previous class. So what is the state and behavior? And the state is represented by attributes of an object and behavior is represented by methods of an object. Yes or no? Behavior means what are the synonyms for the behavior? Behavior can also be called as methods. The behavior of the object means it's a method. In terms of methods, we are talking about. Yes or no? And what are the different synonyms for the behavior? Can you please, anybody can type here in the chat box? Synonyms, methods, of course. Yeah, functions, responsibilities, very good. Yes, operations and member functions. And also one more important terminology is member functions, because these are the functions are members of your class. They are not simply functions. They are part of your class. So they are member functions. And the data we can call as state, we can call as data members. Data members and member functions are the two main parts of your class. Is that okay with everybody? Just nod your head, please. Yes, right. Okay. Now, identity, along with this too, one more thing is identity. It's a unique name of your object we have seen yesterday. And this also, example of dog object also we have seen yesterday. What is identity? The name of the dog. What is the state of the dog? State of the dog object? Its breed, age, color. And behavior is barking. The dog can bark, sleep, and also eat. That's what the behavior, that's what the functions, that was the methods a dog class can do. Yes or no? Now, class also we have discussed much in the previous class. What is the class? I have given you an example also. A class plastic chair, manufacturing of a plastic chair. What is the mold in that? What is the mold in that scenario? What is the mold in that scenario? Mold is class or an object? Class, yes or no? It's a class, it's a template, it's a blueprint, right? Next, it represents the set of properties or methods that are common to all objects of one type, and we have discussed yesterday. So because the data members and member functions are common to everybody, common to all the objects of that class. Of course, the data may be different, but the fields, the attributes are different, are same for all the objects. It has definitions and methods and data, right? And also, yesterday we have seen dog 1, dog 2, dog 3, dog 4 are 4 different objects, dog objects of a dog class. And they are, someone please mute yourself. Please mute yourself. Mute yourself, please. Everybody. Yes, whose mic is on? Mr. Mani Vishnu. Mr. 72. 72, mute yourself, please. Yeah, thank you. See, we should be very careful while listening to the class. Unnecessarily don't touch anything, okay? It will disturb the entire class. Okay, so this dog 1 and dog 2 and dog 3, everything are sharing the attributes and the behavior. Yes or no? Right. Next, now we are discussing the next feature of the OOPS. What is that? Data hiding and encapsulation. Data hiding and encapsulation. What is data hiding? What is data hiding? Can anybody say? What is data hiding? The data can be hidden in terms of what? How I can hide my data? Generally, what is the difference? What is the main important thing of procedural oriented programming and object oriented programming? What is the advantage? Can anybody? What is the advantage? Why we have traveled towards object oriented programming towards from procedure? Because privacy of data, security, data security. Because of the security, we have moved towards procedure-oriented programming to object-oriented programming. Yes or no? So how we are achieving this disadvantage in OOPS? How we are achieving? Because of the access specifiers. Yes or no? We have seen some of the access specifiers in C++ also. Did you remember that? Did you remember? We have seen private and public. Yes or no? What is meant by private? If anything I declare as private, what does it mean? What does it mean? Can anyone type your answer quickly? If I declare any data members or member functions, of course we will not declare member functions as private. Generally data will be under private section. Yeah, it cannot be accessed out of the class. Yes or no? Very good, Nishita. Yes, yes, Anil. So it cannot be inherited in derived class. Of course, it will be inherited, but it will be in private section of the derived class. Yes or no? If I derive, suppose there are class A, cannot be accessed further. Mr. Anil Kumar, they cannot be accessed further. They are not available for its derived class. Suppose there are classes, class A, class B, class C. Okay, class A is the supermost class, class B is the derived class of class A, and class C is the derived class of class B. Okay, is that structure okay? Is that structure understood by everyone? So, if anything is there private in class A, if I inherit in class B, what is going to happen? What is going to be happen? They comes under private section of class B, the derived class of class A. Okay, they comes under private section, but they cannot be further inherited to class C. Is that okay? Is that okay, everybody? Did everybody understand? Please let me know. If you have any doubt, you raise your hand. I'll explain once again. How many of you understand this? If I inherit class A, the private data members will be inherited to under private section of your derived class B. Okay, but they are not further available for your the third derived class, that is class C. They will not be available. That's all. Okay, is that okay? How many of you understood? Can you please raise your hand? I did not see many hands. What about Mr. 6U? 6U, did you understand? Then raise your hand, no? 6N? 6N, please make sure your camera to be covered your entire face. Yeah, thank you. That's what. So whenever I declare private, what does it mean? It will they are not available to the next classes. Yes or no? That's what. So in that way I can hide the data. In that way I can secure my data. Then if it is under private section, how can I access outside my class? If I am not using the data, it's merely waste, no? If the data is not available to the outside the class, it is only available for that class only, then what is the use of that data? Then how can I do any transactions or any operations on that data? How can I access? Do you have any idea? Did you understand what I'm saying, guys? Did you understand what I'm saying? Suppose in class A, some data is under private section. If I want to access that private data out of that class A, suppose some other class B, then what? How can I do? Yes, exactly 61 and 20. That is Anil Kumar. Yes, we can use through member functions because member functions are under public section, so they are available to the other classes. Through the public member functions, I can access the private data, no? Yes or no? Class A lo data under private section, but member functions are a public, no? So as they are public, they are available to the outside the class. These public data members of that class A can access its own data members of that private section. Is that okay? Did everybody understand this? Yes or no? So the public data, the private data members can be accessed outside the class through its public member functions. Is that okay? Right? Right. I'm going to the PPT again. So using private access modifier, we can hide the data from other classes, and the binding data and its operations together into a single unit is known as encapsulation. What is encapsulation then? What is encapsulation then? What is encapsulation? Capsuled. Capsuled what? Capsuled your data and member functions. It is tied to in a single unit. Yes or no? Tied to be in a single unit. That feature is called, at least your lip movement, encapsulation. Thank you. That is what encapsulation. Okay. So can you give any best example? You have used many times in C++, I'm sure. Any best example for encapsulation? Sorry. Can you give any example for capsule? Not capsule, Nishita. What is the example for encapsulation? Where did we tie together data and, I'm sorry. Where did we tie together data and member functions? Class. Exactly, Dharan says. It's a class. In a class, every class is having two things. One is data and member functions. So they are tied together in a particular class. So is the class is not an example of encapsulation? Yes or no? Right? Right. That's what. So encapsulation, the example of, yeah, you will have a sudden surprise test, guys. I'll ask you all these questions. I'll give you like an assignment. So please be attentive to the class. Then you can understand very easily. Okay. So Java class is the example of encapsulation. Okay. That's what. And next, abstraction. What is abstraction? What is abstraction? What is abstraction? Can I ask you guys? What is abstraction? Any answer? You can, if you want to tell your answer, you can unmute yourself and you can answer. Data hiding. Yeah, data hiding only. Okay. What is abstraction generally? Showing only necessary features, Mr. 7N. Exactly. That is only showing the necessary data, but hiding the complex data, complexity, but hiding the complexity. Can you give any example? Can you give any example of abstraction? Shall I give? ADT. Abstract data type. Okay, okay. ATM. Okay, fine. Yes, car. Exactly, exactly. Very good. Suppose there is a car. If I want to drive a car, I just need how to move my steering, how to gear, how to brake, how to accelerate my car. Yes or no? But I never know, but I need not know what is the circuitry in between, in beside the car. What is the circuitry under how they are operating? Do we need that? Do we need that? Do we need that or no? Not yet. No, we need not know the circuitry behind how car is moving. Yes or no? We just need what is required. Yes or no? That's what abstraction. Hiding the complexity and showing the only the necessary information. That's what abstraction. This is one of the feature of the OOPS. And hiding internal details, that is implementation details, and showing functionality is known as necessary functionality. Showing what? Necessary functionality. Necessary functionality is known as abstraction. For example, phone call. We don't know the internal processing of the phone call, but we'll just talk. That's it. Yes or no? That's what. In Java, we use abstract class and interface to achieve abstraction. How abstraction can be achieved? Through abstract classes and also interfaces. Of course, you don't know about interfaces, of course, but there are interfaces at a particular time. We will discuss about that. Okay, right. Hope you understand. I'll ask you the questions randomly, one of you. Okay, how the abstraction can be achieved? What are the two things we can achieve abstraction? One is through abstract classes and also interfaces. That's all. Okay, right. Next, what is next? Inheritance. We talked about much in the previous class. Inheritance. Okay, inheritance is the Java. I'll just read out. Please read along with me with a loud voice. Okay. Inheritance is a Java. Inheritance in Java is a mechanism in which one object acquires all the properties and behaviors of a parent object. Okay. Hope you clear this. I hope everybody understands this. Next, what are the existing classes? What is that? That is super class or base class or parent class, anything we can say. We can say super class, we can say base class, we can say parent class. And what is the new class? It is a subclass or it may be a derived or child class. We can even call the subclass as derived class and also child class. Is that okay? Everybody? Yes? Next. The idea behind inheritance in Java is that you can create new classes that are built upon existing classes. Yes or no? That's what we have done yesterday. That's what we have talked about in previous class. There is a class called bank. From that bank class, we have inherited which class? I just want to test your memory. There is a parent class bank. From that parent class, which child class we have inherited in the previous class? SBI. Very good. Super. Very good. Very good, Bhargav and Rohit and all and Dharan. Okay. So SBI bank we have inherited and we have taken one method, for example. What is that? One method we have, rate of interest. Good students. Right. Second point, when you inherit from an existing class, you can reuse the methods and fields of the parent class. Is there any doubt? Undoubtedly, we can use all the fields and the methods of my parent class. Moreover, you can add new methods and fields in your current class too. Of course, we can add along with the previous methods of the parent class, we can add new methods. Yes or no? Do you agree with me? That's what the importance of inheritance. That's what the beauty of inheritance. What is that? Inheritance provides you reusability and also extensibility. Savya, what happened? Savya, is that okay? Did you understand? 7D. Yeah, fine. So, inheritance, what it is giving you? What it is giving you? It is giving you the reusability. Number one, reusability. Number two, extensibility. Okay, that's what the importance of inheritance. Okay, next. Please observe this drawing once. Inheritance represents the easy relationship, which is also known as parent-child relationship. Yes or no? Can you find any easy relationship here? There is a super class here, shape class. In that only I have one method, that is draw method. Of course, from that shape method, I can able to derive triangle class, rectangle class, circle class. Okay, so as it is the inheritance, I always automatically in a triangle class, rectangle and circle, the draw method will be automatically can be used. Yes or no? Do you have any doubt in that? Yes or no? So what I can say is there is a easy relationship in the inheritance. What is easy relationship? Triangle is a shape. Yes or no? That's why yesterday I have given. Yesterday I have draw something human and student class. Did you remember that? Human and student class. Did you remember? So how did I give that arrow? Arrow is from student to human or human to student? Human is the parent class, student is the derived class. I have drawn one arrow from arrow. You need to tell me. Student to human. I just draw an arrow from student to human. That is, student is a human, but not all humans are students. Yes or no? Did you understand that what I am saying? That is, student is a human. That is what the easy relationship you will be having in inheritance. Okay, right. Next, 6L missed somewhere, and also 6N also missed, 63 also missed. Please turn on your videos, my dear students. Next, what is next? Next is, okay, why use inheritance in Java? To achieve method overriding. Method overriding can be only possible in inheritance. Yes or no? So the runtime polymorphism can be achieved. Polymorphism are two types. Did you remember that? Did you remember that? Polymorphism. How many types of polymorphism we have? Two. What are they? Runtime polymorphism and compile time polymorphism. Okay. Runtime polymorphism and method overriding. Okay. What is compile time polymorphism? Method overloading. Overloading. Okay. Overloading is compile time polymorphism. Method overriding is runtime polymorphism. So runtime polymorphism can be achieved through inheritance. Is that okay with everyone? Yes? Right. Next polymorphism. That's what we have already discussed. Polymorphism is the ability of an object to take on many forms. Poly means many. Taking on many forms. Many forms means one method can be used multiple times. Yes or no? Generally, it occurs when we have many classes that are related to each other by inheritance. That's what we have seen. Here, In this example, the superclass shape draw method can be overridden in triangle, and the superclass draw method can be overridden in rectangle. Yes or no? And in circle too. Do you have any doubt in that? I'm 100% okay to override that superclass method. Do you agree with me? Yes or no? Right. In Java, we use method overloading and method overriding to achieve polymorphism. Okay, that's what. That's what in this session too, and we will discuss. We will discuss one more PPT today along with this. I hope before going to that, hope everybody understand this. Hope everybody. Okay. I'll ask one random question with 2 minutes I'll spend on this. I'll ask one random question to Mr. 7F. Mr. 7F Dharantesh, of course, he is active. I know that. Screen sharing started now. Is my screen is not visible? Guys? No? From the starting. Yeah, wait. From the starting, it is not visible? You might have tell this no, because I'm showing the PPT, I am showing everything, but we have been here only in time. Okay, you are looking at your faces. Yes? Arey. Yeah, wait. Oh, I'm sorry. Show you the PPT. Can you please tell me, is the PPT is visible to everyone? Is this visible? OOPS concepts? Yes or no? Yes. Wait a minute, I'll change the layout. Child only. Okay. Fine. Now it is okay, right? Now, then have a look. Have a look each slide. Just have a look. I'll give you 3 minutes of time. I'll change each slide. OOPS concepts. There are 6: object, class, data hiding and encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism. Object. Yesterday you have seen this slide. I hope so. It is the basic unit of object-oriented programming, and it represents the real life entities. Please read along with me, everybody, please, because the revision will be over for this entire thing. Examples, already you know, student, teacher, math, and real life entities share two characteristics. They are state and behavior. An object consists of state, behavior, identity. State is an attribute, behavior is the method, identity is the unique name. Example, dog object. I hope everybody knows this. That is, identity is name of the dog, state is breed, age, color, behavior is the dog can bark, sleep, and eat. Class. Class is the user defined data type, and it is the blueprint, and it is a prototype from which objects will be created. It represents the set of properties and methods that are common to all objects of one type. It has definitions of methods and data. It has definitions of methods and data. And dog example, I hope you understand this. There are 4 dog objects. Every object is sharing the same attributes and behavior. Same attributes means same fields. Okay, same variables, but not data. Data is different for each dog, yes or no? Breed is different, age is different, color is different, right? Data hiding and encapsulation is one more feature of the OOPS. That is, data hiding can be achieved through Private access modifier or specifier, okay? Binding data and its operation together into a single unit is called encapsulation. Java class is the example of encapsulation. Abstraction is hiding internal details and showing the necessary functionality is known as abstraction. For example, phone call. We don't know the internal processing of the phone call, but generally we used to call each other. In Java, we use the abstract class and interface to achieve abstraction. Okay, fine. Inheritance. Inheritance in Java is a mechanism in which one object acquires all the properties and behaviors of a parent object. Yes or no? Existing class is superclass, and you can even say base class, parent class. New class is subclass, derived class, tail class. The idea behind inheritance in Java is that you can create new classes that are built upon existing classes. When you inherit from an existing class, you can reuse methods and fields of the parent class. You can reuse now, that is what the advantage. Moreover, you can add new methods and fields in your parent class also. Inherit represents is the relationship. Please understand this drawing. Why use inheritance in Java for method overriding? Okay, so runtime polymorphism can be achieved through inheritance. Polymorphism is the ability of an object to take many forms. Poly means many. In Java, we use method overloading and method overriding to achieve polymorphism. That's what. Guys, did you understand this? Is my voice is not clear? 6J. Yeah, please confirm once. Is my voice clear or not? Yeah, thank you, Jahnavi. Jahnavi, you must log in through your roll number mail ID. Otherwise, attendance will not be given. Yeah, thank you, Mani Vishnu. And did you study along with me? Did you study the PPT along with me? Yes or no? Yes, thank you. So, shall I ask one question? Shall I ask Mr. 70s? Please, everybody, turn on your videos. It is very compulsory. As long as I'm here here with you, you should turn on your videos. Everybody. Otherwise, attendance will not be given at any point of randomly. I'll take the attendance from your screenshots. Turn on your videos, everybody, please. If you want, I'll give you break at 12 o'clock for 5 minutes. But meanwhile, you should not skip from here. Satvika and 7N, 70, 660. 7. But I am not able to see your faces. Please turn on your videos, Satvika. Satvika. Then Mani Vishnu can able to turn his video on, right? I can able to see his face, 72. I can able to see his face, but what about the thing with others? Okay. Okay, we will see. Try once again, okay? Now, I just want to go with the third concept, that is second concept today. That is, wait a minute. Is this screen visible? Java session 3, Java features. Is this okay? Everyone? Yeah, thank you. Now I can able to see your faces. If you want, of course, this is a continuous 2 hour session. If you want, I'll give you break after 1 hour for 5 minutes. Is that okay? So meanwhile, you please be with me. Okay, right. The third PPT, I hope it is visible. If not, you please tell me. After every slide, I'll come to your chat box and I'll see your comments. Meanwhile, I will not move here and there. After completion of every slide, each and every slide, I'll come to your chat box. Is that okay with everybody? Is that okay? Yeah, thank you. Right. So Java features. Till now, what we have discussed, what features we have discussed so far? What features we have discussed so far? Any reply from you guys? Any reply? We have seen some features, no? Yeah. All 6 features together under one heading. What is that? I did not ask you about. Right, Abhinav. Thank you. That is OOPS concepts. They are OOPS features. They are object-oriented programming features. What are they? Object, class, inheritance, encapsulation, polymorphism, and abstraction. These are under object-oriented programming features, OOPS features. Now we are talking about what? Java features. Both are different, guys. Both are different. Whenever in your exam, if they ask you about Java features, don't write OOPS concepts, OOPS features. If they ask you about OOPS features, don't write Java features. Okay, make sure what is the question. What question they have asked. Okay, right. Next, Java features. We have these many features. After this slide, I'll come to you. We have these many features. What are they? Simple. Java is simple. Java is object oriented. Java is platform independent. Java is compiled, interpreted, and high performance language. Java is architecture neutral. Java is robust. Java is multi-threaded language. Java is distributed language. Java is secure language. Java is dynamic language. Okay, all these are the features of the Java. Okay, next. Okay, these are the 11 features you have for the Java. Okay, you can note down the running notes also, because for your you can recollect whenever you want. Okay, of course I'll send the PPT, but still. Next, how Java is simple? Why Java is very simple? Is it simple really? Is it simple? Is it simple? No or yes? What do you feel? What thought you have before coming attending to the Java? Not compared to Python. Okay, Python is very easy. Of course, it is easy. But Java has its own significance from the past many years. Okay, of course, Python is maybe it can rule the world. Okay, of course. Next, so Java is of course easy because once you are familiar with C or C++, from C it inherits some concepts. From C++ also some object-oriented concepts it inherits into Java. So once you are aware of C and C++, okay, then Java is simple for you. Okay, Java is simple for you. Now, next. Guys, I don't want to go point by point. Is that okay? Because I'll share the PPT again to you. I don't want to read the PPT. I'll tell you the summary of the slide. Okay? Is that okay? Right. Next. Java is object oriented. Of course, we have seen there is a concept called class and object. That means it is a object oriented programming language. Java is everything is an object. Here everything is an object. Even main function also is in your part of your class. Main is also your part of your class. And we cannot have any method outside the class. And Java can be easily extended as it is based on object model. We can extend the program, we can inherit, we can do whatever we want because it is a object oriented programming. Is that okay? Right. Next. Java is platform independent. One thing, guys, one thing I just want to ask you. Of course, we have, apart from procedural oriented programming, listen carefully, everybody, we have moved towards object oriented programming by using C++. Then, of course, there is C++. Do we need to know Java again? We know one C++ language which is object oriented programming. Then why did we shifted from C++ to again Java? What is its advantage? Did anybody have any idea? Anybody? Because the main fundamental independent. Java is platform independent. Please listen very careful, guys, because these points will not be repeated again. Okay, please do, because if everybody asks you, why did you choose Java? You should be in a position to answer that question. Yes or no? See, what is in the platform independence? What is platform independence? See, I'll ask you one question. If you, after compiling your C program, what file you will be getting? After compiling your C program, what you'll be getting? .exe. Very good, Dharantesh. .exe. Yes or no? .exe file. Suppose I just compiled that C program in the Windows system. After compilation, I got .exe file. If I take that .exe file, shall I run the same program in the Ubuntu system, in the Linux system, or any Microsoft system? Is that possible? Do you think is that possible? No, it is not at all possible. Because once we compile that C program in one system, that is, it is only works on that system only. It will never work on another operating system. Okay, did you understand? Of course, you can run the source code. Of course, you can run the same program source code. Source code means source code and .exe file. And of course, there is a difference, no? Source code means your program, your C program. .exe means after compilation, you will be getting some binary .exe file, no? Which understand by the machine. That .exe file will only be, it's a platform independent. What is platform? It's the operating system. Whenever you compile one C program in one Windows system, that exe file will not be used in other Ubuntu systems or any Microsoft systems, because it is not platform independent. It is platform dependent. C and C++ are platform dependent. But what about Java? Please look at this figure. Please look at this figure. Suppose if it is CPP, test.cpp, there is a program. If I compile this CPP program, we'll get test.exe file, but it only belongs to that particular OS. That particular OS. Okay, but what about Java? What about Java? In Java, there is suppose there is a test.java. If I compile the Java program, you will be getting not exe file. You will be getting test.class file. .class file, which is run on your JVM. What is JVM? I'll tell you guys. Don't worry. JVM is what? Shall I ask you before I answer? Java Virtual Machine. Very good, Anil Kumar. Very good. 61 also. So Java Virtual Machine. What does it mean? What does it mean? See, after compiling your Java program, what you are getting? .exe or .class? I'll show you the program. I'll show you the program today. .class file, which is run on, which can be run on JVM, Java Virtual Machine, not on your particular operating system. It is not Windows operating system. It is not only Microsoft operating system. It is not Linux. It is run on JVM, which is attached to your operating system. Okay. Okay. Is that okay? Right? See, that's what I'll tell you guys. Still, I'll tell you many things regarding this. So, before this, what happens is, whenever previously, before Java, whenever we have any program in C, we need to test on, we have we have almost 50 plus operating system types. We have 50 plus different platforms we have. We need to test on each and every platform. Once we write C program, we need to test on these many different platforms, so that one program can be tested on many platforms. Yes or no? Because whenever there is a customer, whenever there is a client, that client, if he asks for any program, you cannot give one program which is run on Windows, because his operating system may be Linux. Yes or no? His operating system may be different. If you give your program, of course your program is correct, which is run very well on Windows system, but it cannot run on Linux system of your client. Yes or no? For that reason, you need to test on different platforms. This is the reason out of 100 maintenance cost of any software industry, 40 to 50% of cost of the maintenance cost will be on testing. Will be on testing. Yes or no? 40 to 50% is not a simple matter. Yes or no? We can understand that. They'll be doing in crores of rupees. They'll be managing crores of rupees. 40 to 50% of the maintenance cost will be only on testing. Means it's a big deal. Yes or no? So to avoid this, what Java achieving is, such a wonderful feature, that is platform independence. Once we write here, once there is a dot class file, once we compile that dot class file, you can run on any JVM of your operating system. Okay, you can run on any operating system JVM. That is, suppose, please listen carefully. Suppose there is a Windows OS. For Windows OS, they used to have one JVM. For Linux, there is a Linux operating system. For Linux operating system, they used to have one more JVM. For Microsoft operating system, for Microsoft also they'll be having one JVM. Yes or no? There as many as operating system, those many JVMs, Java virtual machines, will be attached to your operating system. So once your dot class file is ready, once you tested on one single machine, that will be executed on multiple systems without any doubt, multiple platforms without any doubt. So is it not a big advantage of Java? Yes or no? That's what the very beautiful feature of the Java, that is platform independence. Okay, is that okay, guys? Now I'll ask you one thing. Is JVM platform independent? Is JVM platform independent? Java? No, exactly, Satvika and Dharmitesh and 6M. That is, JVM is not platform independent. Your Java program is platform independent. JVM is platform dependent only, because a JVM is separated for your Windows OS, and JVM is separated for your Linux machine, and JVM is separated for your Microsoft system. But what is the platform independent? Your dot class file. Your dot class file is platform independent. That can be run on any JVM which is platform dependent. That is, the JVM, that dot class file again translated to machine level language. That is .exe file on your machine. Yes or no? There are two things. One Java program can be compiled to dot class file. Again it is translated to. Yeah, please. Again it is translated to. Look at this, guys. Look at this. Is that okay? Guys, is that okay? Did you understand what I have done? Did you understand what I have done? Yes or no? Again, your JVM will convert your dot class file into your machine code, your native machine code. Did you understand what I'm saying? See, the JVM suppose you attach it to your Windows machine. The JVM will translate your dot class file into the machine code which is understandable by your Windows system. Suppose if I want to run on Linux machine, your JVM will translate the dot class file into your the instructions which is understood by the Linux machine. Okay, did you understand? Did you get my point, everybody? If not, please raise your hand. Please raise your hand. Otherwise, you can mention in your chat box. Otherwise, you can mute yourself and you can ask. Okay, the JVM is platform dependent. That is JVM అది ఆ సిస్టమ్ కి అర్థమయ్యే లాంగ్వేజ్ లో ఇట్ విల్ ట్రాన్స్లేట్. Okay, so JVM is platform dependent, but your dot class file is platform independent. Did you understand? That's what. That is the reason. Please do remember all these points. Thank you. Next. You can read. Everything is same which we have discussed right now. Okay, and also one more thing, guys. The instructions in the dot class file is platform independent. That is, we can also call as bytecode. Guys, 1 minute. I got a call. Just a minute, please. Yes, sorry guys, sorry for the inconvenience. So that, did everybody understand what did I say regarding platform independence? Everybody, this is very important. Actually, you need to understand. Okay? What, Mr. 6U? Did you understand? Yes, no? Right. So, what the dot class file also can be called as bytecode. Please do remember. That also can be called as bytecode. Okay? Right. Okay. Java is compiled and interpreted, but high performance language. Java is compiled. Here, the test.java can be compiled. After compilation, we'll be getting test.class. Of course, now that is compilation. After that, what we are going to do is that the Java dot class file can be interpreted to test.exe. Interpreted to text.exe. But what is your interpreter? Your JVM is the interpreter. Interpreter means, compiler means what it is going to do? Compiler and interpreter, what is the difference? Compiler and interpreter, what is the difference? Compiler means interpreter execute line by line. Yes or no? Yes or no? Interpreter executes line by line, but compiler, what it is going to do? What is going to do? Execute, not execute. It translates your entire code at once. In one go, it can able to translate to machine, converts to machine level language. Exactly, Savanan and Anil. That's what. So, but of course it is an interpreted language, but it is what it is written in terms interpreted languages. Of course it is slow. Of course it is slow. But apart from this, what it is giving you in return, it is giving you such an immense, beautiful feature, that platform independence. Yes or no? That's what the advantage of Java. And one more thing I just want to tell you guys. In this interpreter, here we are using JIT compiler. Actually, later you will be getting. Later you will be getting. What is that? Okay, compiled and interpreted, but high performance. How can you say high performance? Of course, it is interpreted language. Of course, it is slow, but still I am saying high performance. How it is high performance? Please read along with me. Java enables the creation of cross-platform programs by compiling into an intermediate representation called Java bytecode. Did you understand this, everybody? After compilation, what we are getting? The intermediate code is, what is the intermediate code after compilation of the Java program? Dot class file. 68, exactly. Dot class file, that is intermediate code. After this intermediate code, listen, this code can be executed on any system that implements the Java virtual machine. Right. The most previous attempts at cross-platform solutions have done so at the expense of performance, of course. But what happens in this? Look at this very carefully. Java bytecode was carefully designed so that it would be easy to translate directly into native machine code for very high performance by using just-in-time compiler. Okay, in JVM what we have just-in-time compiler. What is just-in-time compiler? What is an interpreter generally? Line by line it is going to translate. But just-in-time compiler, after they have evolved a lot. They have introduced, there are many developments in this interpreter. So they have introduced just-in-time compiler. What is this just-in compiler will do is, a block of code can be, at a time, a block of code can be translated to machine code. Generally interpreted, what it is going to do? Line by line, because it is slow. But after developments, what they have introduced, just-in-time compiler, so that a block of code, that is a set of instructions at a time, can be translated to your machine code. So is it not giving high performance then? Yes or no? It will give high performance. Of course, Java is interpreted language, but still we can get high performance because of what? At least your lip movement I am expecting. JIT compiler. Yes or no? At least because of your JIT compiler. What, Jahnavi, did you understand? Yes, no? Right. What is native machine code? What is native machine code? What is native machine code? If you understand what the JVM will do, you can reply what is native machine code. Binary code. The binary code which is there in .exe file. Yes or no? JVM will translate your .class file into native machine code. Native and enti? The machine code which pertaining to your operating system. Yes or no? Did you understand? To that OS, to particular OS. That is what native machine code. Virtual machine, Java virtual machine, Windows machine lo unte, the JVM will translate the instructions to your native machine code which is understandable in your Windows system. Yes or no? That's what. Very good. Next, architectural neutral. Java is architectural neutral language. What is architectural neutral language? Write once, run anywhere, anytime. That's what we can do in Java. That is, suppose if your operating system upgrades, suppose if my system is upgraded to i3 to i5, i5 to i7, i7 to i9, but still your Java program will work. But still your Java program will work for sure. That is, of course, your processor may be upgraded. Of course, your hardware may be processors, any change in your resources system. But whatever be the change, whatever be the change in your processor, the Java will be executed. That is what architectural neutral. Yes, did you understand that? Write once, run anywhere, anytime. Yes or no? That's what your biggest achievement. Next, Java is robust language. Java is robust. How can you say robust? What is robust? Robust and enti? What is robust? Robust means Rohit is a robust person. What does it mean? Mr. 6R is a very robust person, and also 7F is a robust person. What does it mean? Strong person. Okay. What is that? What is that? What does it mean? It's a strong. Yes, strong. So Java is also strong language. How can you say it is strong? How can you say? Because there is no pointers concept, so it avoids security problems. Because of pointers, some security issues will be raised. So we are not using Java in pointers in Java. So please be happy that we are not using pointers here. Okay, star, 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 star. That mental tension will not be here in Java. Okay. Of course, it is somewhat confusing, right? But that is not there in Java. So that some security issues will not be raised in Java. So that we can say it is robust. And memory allocation also. Memory allocation and deallocation. Can I ask one question, guys? How can I deallocate the memory? How can I deallocate the memory in C? What is the method you will be used in C? Anybody? Free. Very good. DLlock. Do we have DLlock? Free. Okay. In C++? In C++, how can we deallocate the memory? Delete. Yes or no? Very good. Delete is the method which we can use to deallocate the memory. But, of course, these two can be a programmer's responsibility to use free or delete. Yes or no? In C and C++. But here in Java, the programmer is irresponsible to use this free and delete. You need not worry. You need not for the deallocation of the memory. Java will take care of that. Java will take care of the deallocation of the memory through garbage collector. What is this garbage collector? How it is going to do? We will see later. But what you need to understand right now, there is a garbage collector class which can take care of your deallocations of your memory. Is that okay? Yes or no? Yeah. What, Mr. Dharantesh? Is that okay with you? Yeah, fine. And also we have exception handling, the very beautiful exception handling mechanism also here in Java, so that we can avoid runtime anomalies, the abrupt stoppages in Java. Okay, we have exception handling. So because of all these things, what we can say, Java is robust. What are the 3 points we have discussed? One is we don't have any pointers concept. Please, along with me, you need to say it. Please, at least your lip movement. We don't have pointers, so that security issues can be avoided in Java. Second one, memory management. Memory management can be taken care of your Java because of your garbage collector. Strong memory management. Very good, Jahnavi. Good. Next, third one, exception handling mechanism. We have exception handling mechanism so that we cannot, we don't have any fear that the program will be stopped abruptly. We can take proper precautions, what to do, how to manage the things. Okay, right. Next, multi-threaded language. Java is a multi-threaded language. Guys, of course, I am going to stop within 10 minutes this theory. Don't worry. Okay. Okay, please bear with me 10 more minutes. We will go to the very first program, Hello World program later. So that by then we'll be interesting. Okay. Next, Java is multi-threaded language. Do you know what is a thread? Multi-threaded language. What is thread? Thread means which can be used to stitch your clothes. No, right? It's a sub process. It's a lightweight process. What is lightweight? Heavyweight, lightweight. What is thread? Thread is a small process which have its own individual path of execution. Of course, you don't understand this statement. I know that. Shall I tell you one example? Suppose whenever we are downloading any website, please do understand. Please do clearly. Please be with me. Suppose when I am downloading any website, initially the text will be appeared first. Sometimes later images. Did you observe that? Did you observe that ever? What Mr. Sixer? Did you observe that? Whenever our network connection is slow, initially the text will be downloaded first and then later the images. Then what happens? This text downloads will be processed on one thread and the image downloads will be processed on another thread. Yes or no? There are individual paths. There are the downloading, even I am downloading one single website, but the processors, the total execution, the total downloading will be separated, segregated to different threads. Okay, that is what multi-threading. Each and every task will be shared by different threads so that your processing will be what is going to happen in multi-threaded concept? Speed, exactly, Anil Kumar. It will be speed. If you have multiple threads, what is the difference between mainly i5 and i7 processors? Can anybody tell? Fast, speed, because it's highly threaded language. i7 processor is highly threaded language. It's not even multi-threaded, it's highly threaded. Okay, that is what it is going to give you such an immense faster experience. Okay, that's what. Yeah, right. Yes, yes, Anil Kumar. Multi-threading is a special type of multitasking. Okay. Next, look at this one's multitasking, running multiple tasks simultaneously. Each task is a separate program. Do you agree with me? Each task is a separate program. The processor, the complete processor, the tasks can be segregated to task 1, task 2, task 3. Guys, 1 minute. Just a minute. Guys, of course I am on mute, but I can see your faces now. Why many people are laughing? Is it not understandable? Is that boring? Huh? What happened, Darren? Is it boring? No, right? Many new concepts we are learning actually, because these concepts generally you never, I hope so. Of course, you might have some of the smart students, maybe they're in CSED, they'll know. But many of them did not know. That's the reason. Okay, so that entire processor will be shared by different threads. So job 1 will be done on thread 1, job 2 will be done on thread 2, and task 3 will be done on thread 3. So like this, the entire thing will be shared through multiple threads. Okay, that is what advantage of multi-threading. Where is it? Next. Huh. Just read along with me. Read along with. Still, we have 6 more slides. We'll close this. Okay. Read along with me. If we run programs sequentially one after the other, what happens if the currently running program requires an IO? IO means input output. The process will be idle until the IO operation is completed. What is IO? What is IO? IO means IO means input output. Suppose you are doing one program. Whenever you want to take input from the user, you want to display something on the monitor. Then what is that? It is an IO process, IO task, IO operation. Yes or no? Input output operation. The most time taking process in the computer thing is input output. Meanwhile, what this processor is doing, it is sitting idle. If I am talking about a single threaded environment, yes or no? The processor is idle at the time of your input output. So to reduce, because if the processor is idle, what we are achieving, we will achieve nothing, no? So we have to make our processor always busy. We have to make our processor always busy. So whenever the processor is idle, we will assign some other work because through the some other thread. Yes or no? Whenever that the processor is sitting idle at the time of your input output, that will be assigned with some other work. So the throughput will be increased. What is throughput? Number of jobs can be done on a particular time period. Okay. So to increase the throughput, we are selecting the multi-threaded environment. Okay. Is that okay? So that the CPU idle time can be reduced, the throughput can be increased. The aim of multitasking is to reduce the idle time of the processor. Next, with the help of CPU scheduling algorithms, we can assign processor another job when the currently running program requires an IO. We have some CPU scheduling algorithms. Do you know that? How this multitasking can be done? Pixar is smiling. Whenever I change the screen, he is keep quiet. Huh? What happened, Pixar? From now on, I'll log into through my phone again because I'll see your faces from the phone and I'll open the PPT from the system. Huh? Is that okay? It's just like a class. Whenever the teacher turns towards the board, the students will do all the mess up. Huh? Like that he is doing. Okay. I'm just asking about CPU scheduling algorithms, no? Do you know anything? Do you have OS, operating system? In this semester you have, no? There are some algorithms, round robin algorithm, okay, round robin algorithm, time scheduling algorithm. There are some scheduling algorithms. FIFO, yes, exactly. First in, first out algorithm. Because of the scheduling algorithms, suppose there are 3 tasks. Listen carefully. There are 3 tasks. Task 1, task 2, task 3. If it is round robin scheduling algorithm, the time will be allocated for each task maybe 2 milliseconds. The first 2 milliseconds, the job of the task 1 will be done. After that, the next 2 milliseconds will be allocated to task 2. Next,
There's a power cut, it seems, so ma'am is asking us to wait.
Can people stop texting me and make me laugh?
No. Practice the poker face.
What happened, Jahnavi? What happened? What happened, everybody? Oh, because of the power cut, the connection was also cut. Okay. So, is my screen visible to you? Of course, the PPT. I just switch over to PPT. Is that visible? So, I need to present again. Now, can you able to look at your faces again on the screen? Right? Good. I am talking about scheduling algorithm, no? What scheduling algorithm I am talking about? What is that? What is that? Round robin. Very good. Round robin scheduling algorithm. So did you understand what is round robin algorithm? Particular time period will be shared to all the tasks so that the time, the CPU will be allocated to all the tasks in a all the tasks one after the other, so that every task will be completed. That is what round robin scheduling algorithm. Because of this scheduling algorithm, multitasking can be achieved. Can be achieved. Look at this multitasking and advantages. Throughput, number of jobs that can be completed in a unit time will be increased. Quick response time for jobs, that is number of jobs need to wait for a long time for the process. Everybody please read along with me these two statements in PPT. Please read. Anyone? I'll just Jahnavi, please read these two statements on the PPT. Mute yourself, please. Jahnavi, are you there? Unmute yourself. Unmute yourself once. Unmute yourself, Jahnavi, once. Can you? No. Why so? Anybody? Mr. Sixiu, can you? Can you unmute yourself? No. Okay. 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 Yeah, fine. Now, can you please try?
Am I audible now?
Yeah. Yeah, fine, Jahnavi. Just I'll open the PPT. Please read along with me. I read by yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Do you want me to read it with my mic unmute?
Yes.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Multitasking advantages. Throughput, number of jobs that can be completed in a unit will be increased.
Unit time.
Quick
Unit
response time for jobs in a unit time will be increased. Quick response time for jobs, that is, no job needs to wait for a long time for the processor. These are the multitasking advantages.
That's it. That's it. Very good. Now mute yourself. Okay?
Yes.
Fine. So that is what these are the two things. One is throughput will be increased and quick responses can be achieved through multitasking. That's what. Okay. Right. Next. Thread is a part of a program and sequence of instructions which has independent path of execution. Okay. Multi-threading, running multiple threads of a program simultaneously. Distributed. Java is a distributed language, and of course, you may not understand very clearly right now. The RMA technique and EJB. RMA means remote method invocations, and enterprise Java bean techniques can be used here to achieve distribute techniques. And that is, Java is distributed because it facilitates users to create distributed applications. Distributed applications like RMI, EJB can be done through Java. Okay. This feature of Java makes us able to access resources by calling the method from any machine on the internet. Because of this RMI, remote method invocation, you can even use the resource even in the USA. That's what remote method invocation. Remote means which is far away. The resource which is far away can be accessed from India through what? Through RMI technology. Okay, that is remote method invocation. That's it. Next, secure. Java is secure because of no explicit pointers, and also these Java programs run inside the virtual machine box, so that we can say that it is a secure language, and it is a dynamic language too. Okay, Java programs carry with them substantial amount of runtime type information that is used to verify and resolve access to objects at runtime. This makes it possible to dynamically link code in a safe and appropriate. That binding and all, that binding, late binding, runtime binding, everything will be done dynamically, dynamic polymorphism, yes or no? Dynamically, we can able to link the methods. Which method can be executed can be decided dynamically, yes or no? So that type of dynamism also be there in Java. Okay, that's what. These are the features of Java. Can you tell, and all of you can, I hope everybody understand this. Yes or no? Can you tell me the features of Java? We will move to our first program, Hello World program. Type in the chat box, please, everybody. Java is simple. Everybody. Whoever understands these Java features well can able to type. Java is dynamic, secure, portable, platform independent, distributed, dynamic, multi-threaded. Very good. Memory management is under secure. Okay. Secure language. Right. So that you understood. I hope you understood that I have understood. Right? So, is that okay, guys? Is that okay? Right. So still we have till 1 o'clock, right? We have till 1 o'clock. Do you want to take 5 minutes break, or shall I continue the first program? Your wish. Okay means what, Vaishnavi? Okay for what? Yes for what? Yes to continue, break. Continue, break. 2. There is an ambiguity. Vote for continue or vote for break. Only 5 minutes. Take the classroom and leave early. Super idea. Right. I'll leave early 5 minutes before. Then. Yeah? Is that okay? Right. I'll show you the program, guys. Look at this, guys. Look at this. Okay. Is this fine? I just share my screen. I have segregated two parts. Is this program visible to everybody? Let me confirm once. Let confirm this. Okay. So this is the first program. This is the Hello World program. Generally we have. Okay. What is this? Class test. there is a class. I already told you in Java, everything is an object and class. Everything is an object and everything will be written in class. Okay. So initially there is a class. Initially there is a class. In that class, what I am doing is I have a main method. I have a main method. In that main method, I am printing hello world text. Okay, I'll tell you very clearly. I'll tell you. In this class text, what is class? What is class? Class is what? Class is a user defined. Class is a keyword and it is a user defined data type. Yes or no? And what is test here? What is? Guys, hope everybody is hearing. Everybody is, because as this is the very first program, you need to be habituated to the syntaxes first. Okay, how the syntax is, how to write the Java program, you need to learn. Okay, what is test here? Test is name of the class. Very good, 61. Name of the class. 68 also. Very good. Many responses. Good. Now, in this class test, we have only one method, which is main method. Okay, which is main method. But the syntax of the main method is not just main, not just int main, but it is having what? Public, static, void, main. Public, static, void, main. Okay, you need to write only like this. Public, static, void, main. What is this public in this? What is this public here? Public means if I am declaring my main method as public, what does it mean? Access specifier. Yes or yes, of course it is an access specifier. If I am declaring public means it should be available to the outside the classes. Yes or no? It should be available to the outside the class. It can be accessed from anywhere. Actually, do you know the main is the entry point of your program? Do you know that? Everybody? Main is the entry point of your program. Yes or no? So as it is the entry point of our program, that should be available for your compiler, no? It should be even available to your compiler, right? Yes or no? So that compiler is outside our program, no? Yes or no? So that is the reason. For that reason, the main method should be available even for the outside the class. We are declaring that method as public. Did you understand that? Did you understand that, everybody? Now, what is static? What is static? What is static? What is meant by static? If I am declaring any method as static, what does it mean? If I am declaring any method as static, what does it mean? Static. Guys, are you listening my voice? Is my voice audible? Right? Any method as static, what does it mean? Don't know? 6W. Mr. 6W. The objects in the method cannot be changed. No. Memory allocated. Main method is to be called without. Yeah, exactly, Abhinav. Exactly. Abhinav said, well said. See, in object-oriented program, if I want to execute any method, if I want to invoke any method, what do you require? Suppose there is a class, student class. There is a method called read. If I want to invoke that method, what I require? I require a student object. Yes or no? Yes or no? But is there any object creation? Is there any object creation? Without any object also, if I want to execute this main method, as it is the main method, as it is the first method, can I create any object before this? Yes or no? We cannot. So that without the help of the object also, I can even execute this main. That is what? Static. Mr. 6W, do you want to say something, or do you unexpectedly did you unmute yourself? Yeah. So static means it is the property of the class. It is the property of the class. It does not belong to any particular object. Okay? It is not belongs to any particular single object. Okay, that is what static is. And void means void. Main method doesn't return anything. It is not written anything. That is what void. The type of the main method is void. Then main is the name of the method. Yes, exactly guys. Thank you. Main is the name of the method and which is always taking this. What is this? What is this? String args, arguments. It is taking, the main method always takes arguments of which type? Of which type? No, not default argument. String type. That's what it means, no? That's what it means, no? You can even write like this. Yes or no? What does it mean? There is an array, args array, which is of type string. Yes or no? Which is of type string. That is, the main method always takes string arguments. What is args here? What is args here? Args. What is args here? Guys, are you there? Arguments. Yes or no? Name of the array. So, name of the array. What is Mr. 61? What is your name? 61, what is your name? Manisha. Yeah. Can I keep like this? Can I change like this? Can I change or not? No? Yes or no? Yes, we can. Because it's just an array name, no? Name of the array, anything we can take. It need not to be args. It need not to be args. Okay. Just for the general scenario, we are taking as args. But you can take any name. It's not compulsory. But can I change this? Can I change this? Can I change this? Can I do? No, I cannot do. Because the main method always takes what type of arguments? What type of arguments? String arguments. Okay, string arguments. Public, static, void, main of which taking string arguments. String arguments array. It is taking an array of type strings. Why did we use capital S? Because, right. Yes, this string is a class. The string is a class in Java, Vaishnavi. All classes in Java, the first letter is capital. Java is case sensitive, exactly. So it is, all the classes will start from capital letter. Okay, string is a class in Java. It's not a data type, it's a class. Okay, is that okay? Now, even our user-defined class test also, I just started with the capital T. Of course, you can give small letter, but the general scenario, the general style we can follow is the class must be started with capital letter. Okay, right? String args, and which is taking one and only one statement inside it. Okay, what is that? System dot out dot println. System dot out dot println. What is system here? What is system here? System. System is also a class. Very good, Anil. System is also a class. And what is out here? What is out? What is out? Out is an object. Out is an object. Okay. What is println? What is println? Method name. Yes or no? Println is the method name. Print and println. Print is just printing. Okay, println means it just prints the statement and also the cursor comes to the next line. It adds the new line. Okay, that is what println. But that is what the difference between print and println. Okay, println will give you the extra line to your output. Okay, as it is a method, do I need to call on object? Yes or no? Println is a method. I just want to call the method because for that reason I require an object. I require an object. Yes or no? And which is available in which class? That object out is available in which class? System class. That is the reason the first letter of the system is yes, capital S. Guys, are you with me, everybody? Yes or no? In system class, system is our own system, our own PC. Okay. The out is the output object which connects to your monitor, output monitor. Okay. Yes or no? So that whatever which takes any type of data, that is, it may take integers, it may take boolean, it may take strings. Now here I am passing string. This method, this println method can take many things. It can take strings, it can take integers, it can take boolean. Yes or no? Guys, are you with me? This method, now I am passing the string hello world. That hello world can be printed on the monitor because of this out object which connects to your monitor. Is that okay, guys? Is that okay? Yes, no? Right? Everybody? Everyone? Yes. Jahanavi understood. Anil also understood. Still anybody? If you don't understand, please let me know, everybody. Because as it is the very first program, you need to understand what is happening inside. Guys, for any C program, what we are doing is hash include stdio.h. Yes or no? For any C program, the very first step is hash include stdio.h. The headers you just want to include. But here I did not use anything. Why so? I don't need that. Instead of out, can we write anything? No. No, it's a default because they are default things, no? Because the system is a predefined class. It's not user defined class. System is a predefined class which is available in lang package. Yeah, listen carefully. One statement I am telling you guys. Listen very carefully. I'll come to this. System is a predefined class. Mr. 6R, listen carefully. In predefined class, there is an object called out. I did not create that object. The Java creators itself, they have created. Yes or no? So I cannot change that object name as out as in as out and in as 6R. We cannot. Okay, so that you have to use out. And one more thing, these are, I have used two classes over there. In that example, who is that? In that example, I have used two classes. What are they? String is one class, system is one class. But where are those classes? I have used straight away here, no? I have used straight away here, no? Yes or no? Did you understand? But where are those classes? Where are they available? Suppose మీరు C లో వాడాలంటే C లో print అని వాడాలంటే what will you do? Printf వాడాలంటే what will you do? You have to use hash include stdio.h. Yes or no? Because that header files includes all these methods. Right? Did you get my point? But here I am not include anything. Here what you need to do is, there is the packages. In Java we have packages. In one of the package, lang package, that is language package, which is by default available to your all the Java programs. You need not include anything. Yes or no? Java అన్ని programs కి by default lang package అనేది available గా ఉంది. Okay, lang package is available by default. You need not say anything. Otherwise, what you need to do is my screen visible? Sorry. Java dot import Java dot lang dot String. Like this I need to use. Like this I need to use. Yes or no? But it is unnecessary. It is unnecessary. It is unnecessary. Okay. Because it is that lang package is always available to by default to all the Java programs. Okay. And I did not use even I did not include anything for system also. System class is also available in lang package. Okay. But I did not say, but I did not, I need not. As it is the default package which is available to all the programs, I need not do for the two statements. Is that okay for you guys? Is that okay? Everybody understood? That's what. So string class, system class are available in lang package, which is available to, by default available to all the programs. Okay, shall I execute the program? Shall I? How to execute we will see and we will close this session. We will continue tomorrow. Okay? Start. From here, look at this very carefully. What is my program name? What is my program name? One thing guys, you need to save your program with your class name for sure. For sure you need to save your program with your class name. Did you understand what I'm saying? If my class name is test, you need to save your program with test.java. If my class name is Jahnavi, I need to save my program as jahnavi.java. Okay. If my class name is Shravya, I need to save my class program name as Shravya.java. Did you understand? So the class name must be same as your program name. Okay. So how I am executing? Please do listen carefully. Okay. From here I have test. No. Here I have test program. Here in the address bar, just have a click. Just click, one click. Now type CMD. CMD means command. CMD means command. Enter. Now, what did you get? You got the entire path. You got the entire path. Did you observe that? You got the entire path. That is, from here you need to run your program because the program is available in this folder. Yes or no? Yes or no? Did you understand that? In demo programs I have my test program. And this demo program is in session 1. This session 1 is again in session 1. It is available in ministry. Yes or no? For this reason, if straight away, what I am doing is, from here I am going to do CMD. Did you understand this, everybody? Did everybody understand this? CMD means command prompt. It will open your command prompt. From command prompt, how will you execute is, from command prompt, how will you execute is C. Everybody note this command. Java C, that is Java C. Java C is Javac. Javac means Java compiler. C means compiler. Java compiler, that is Javac. What is your program name? Test.java. Please everybody note this. After saying CMD, this window will be open. Command prompt window will be open. Here, what you need to type is Java, that is Java C test.java. Enter. Now, the test.java is compiled. The test.java is compiled. Okay. Now, please do observe your folder. Please do observe your folder. Observe your folder. What folder? Demo programs folder. What did you find? Anything extra in this folder? Did you find anything extra? Did you find anything extra? Did you find anything extra, guys? I'm sorry. Wait a minute. What did you find anything extra? Test.class, which we need to execute again. Exactly, Jahnavi. Exactly. We found what? Along with the test, I have found test.class. That is the .class file, the intermediary code. That is class file. Here, did you observe that? It is not Java file. It is class file. Now, this class file again I need to execute again. Yes or no? This intermediary code again I need to execute. I hope everybody understand that. Yes or no? Now, how I am running, please do carefully listen this. Java test. Now that .class file again will be interpreted by using JVM. Java is JVM. Java is your JVM. Java is a command to your JVM so that what output you got? What output you got? Hello world. Yes or no? Hello world output will be given. Did everybody understand these two statements? Did everybody understand this? First one is, first statement, Java test.java means you are compiling your code. Compiler comes into the picture. After compilation, what you are getting? After compilation, what you are getting? Okay, after compilation, what you are getting? Test.class. That is intermediary, byte code. Okay, byte intermediary code. That .class will again I need to run on JVM. Java, that is Java test. That is Java is a command to your JVM to interpret once again to machine code .exe file. Okay, that is what. Now it is going to give you output. Did you note down these two statements, everybody? Did you note down? Right? Hope you understand the program. Class test. Within the class set, how is the syntax for the main? Public static void main string args. In that, how is the println statement? How is the println statement? Please type anybody. Whoever understand that, please type. Syntax for println system dot out dot println of whatever the text you want. Is that okay? So like on the program now, in the test letter, the very first program, hello world. So like today, the one and only task you need to do is hello world program. I'm just start this task. Please complete the task and go. Please complete the task and go, because every task is to be carried out the performance. Even the hello world also, we will take the performance. That performance is we are preserving for your future purposes. Okay? Do this.